Okay. Well, thanks for coming, everyone, to the last Geoseminar talk today. Really good to see everybody once again. My name is Scott. I'm the NMGIC president this year. Thanks to all my fellow board members for organizing these fall talks. They've been really informative and fun. And thanks, Tammira, for coming to talk with us today. We'll be recording today's talk for those that cannot attend, and we'll post the videos to our NMGIC website shortly afterwards. If you missed any of the talks from the last 3 weeks, we'll be releasing all of them shortly. It's just taking me a little bit to download them and edit, but I'll have them up there soon, and I'll try to send an email out to everybody once those are ready. If you need any CE credits for today's talk for the GISP or another certification, just send me an email and we can, we'll see what we can do for you. Please keep your questions until after the talk. You can type your questions into the chat window or just unmute yourself and speak up when you're ready. Please try to keep yourself muted during the talk. After questions, we'll leave the room open. If anybody wants to hang around, we can just have an open discussion if you'd like. Before we get started, we have a special announcement about the NMGIC scholarship winners. We're very pleased this year that because we had so many great applicants, we've decided to award 3 $1,000 scholarships in total. 2 scholarships will be going to students in geography and geospatial studies, and we have 1 scholarship being awarded for geospatial professional development. With that said, the recipients of the 2020 Jesse Rosbach Memorial Scholarship are Jillian Rutherford and Dana Dominguez. And the recipient of the 2020 Amy Budge Scholarship is Scott Ernst. If any of you are on this talk or you know any of the winners, we'd like to extend our congratulations, and we look forward to hearing more about your projects in the future. So let's get right to it. Today's speaker is Tammira Taylor. Tammira is a GIS planner at Albuquerque Public Schools Capital Master Plan, who delivers geographic data and analysis to assist in guiding the expenditure of capital resources at the district, including all improvements to buildings, major equipment acquisition, technology, and land acquisition. Tammira works with a wide variety of geographic information to serve the diverse needs of the school district. And today, Tammira will discuss leveraging indoor mapping in school planning. All right, go for it, Tam.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for having me, and I'm going to go ahead and stop my video while I'm presenting to save some bandwidth, and I'll come back when I'm finished. So I've been with the Capital Master Plan at APS for about 3 years. And when I started, they had started talking about bringing all of our CAD data into our geographic information system. The goal was to expand this process of spatially mapping our students into the physical space of our educational facilities. We have a lot of social economic data for our students, and we were hoping to coordinate that to fit them with their best classroom type, technology, and design based on their student needs. This should enhance our learning, safety, efficiency, and save money by better utilizing our limited resources. And we'll be using it as a management, life, health, and safety tool. So I'm going to start today by giving you some background about APS in general, so you get a size of the scale of our district and the demographics that we're working with. APS is the 31st largest school district in the country. We have about 83,000 students. We're a bit lower this year because of the pandemic, but we are still maintaining over 75,000 students. We have 15,000 charter school students and over 12,000 employees. We have 88 elementary schools with approximately 40,000 students and 6 million square feet of space. There we go. Navigating on a shared screen. We have 27 middle schools and 2 K-8 schools with approximately 18,000 students and almost 4 million square feet of space. And we have 13 physical high schools that have about 23,000 students and 5,000 square feet of space. To give you some background on our APS families, we serve over 266,000 households, where the average median income is $47,810. 15% of our APS families live in poverty, and 64% have some college completion. We have a very diverse student body. We have a majority minority school district with 67% of our students identifying as Hispanic. And we actually serve almost 800 students that do not live within the APS district. We serve over 3,000 homeless children. And about 20% of our students are special needs education services students. This statistic is about free and reduced lunch. About 64% of our kids qualify for free and reduced lunch. And we actually find this a better statistic for identifying economic status than some of the other data provided from outside entities. We have a very large operational scope at APS. We have over 15 million square feet of existing built environment. And we contribute $10 million a month into the local construction sector. We spend about $50,000 per day on our utility, gas, electric, and water. And our maintenance and operations tend to 96,000 work orders every year. We serve 85,000 children, over 150 meals a day, which has actually continued into the pandemic. Our transportation is actually the largest transit system in the state. We have about 40,000 riders daily in a typical year with 530 buses. We have over 600 acres of athletic fields, 4 major complexes, and 400,000 square feet of PE gyms and classrooms. We build our capacity by educating our children and our adult learners, and our information technology is pretty impressive. We have fiber optic cables, over 110,000 IT devices, which has grown exponentially recently when we've supplied kids over the district with their own devices. And something really important to us here is our student and family emotional health and well-being. Our community support division sees over 909 threat assessments, almost 1,500 suicide assessments, and 4,500 health and wellness referrals. And we provide about 23,000 student therapy contacts every year. We're also growing our school security and emergency management plan. So we are currently working to install secure vestibules at all of our school entrances. So there's a single point of entrance at each school. We're working on heavy duty commercial locks for every classroom that lock from the inside. We're working to install perimeter fencing at every site. We're installing cameras and alarm systems as well. So here you can see the scope of the project and what it involves for us here. A lot of hardware and personnel resources. We actually recently opened our new police dispatch center. So we're working on consolidating all of our different security entities into one location, as well as consolidating our equipment. So we've recently implemented ALICE, which is a protocol for the safety of our kids during a crisis event. And we've started emergency mapping and evacuation mapping for that system. So we're taking this in 2 different phases. We're doing an inventory and then an implementation phase. So that kind of gives you some background as to the scale of the district and the opportunities that might be had by bringing all of our building and facility data and incorporating that into GIS. So we collect information about each student when they register for school through our online registration system. And our students register through school online. And our SIS, Student Information System team, provides us over here in the GIS with detailed socioeconomic data, including the attributes you see listed here. We get the names, enrollment, address, grade level, date of birth, gender, race, and ethnicity, and other attributes. We use the home address for each student to geocode their location using a composite address locator based on parcel addresses collected from the city, new addresses from permit data from the city and Bernalillo County, and individual addresses identified by our GIS staff over time, and then finally an Esri geolocator. This is a pretty basic concept for most of us in this talk, but the student locations become a very important layer for analyzing the spatial relationships of students with other data maintained by our GIS department. For example, using our school boundary layers with a simple join, we're able to create fields in the student location attribute table, indicating which elementary, middle, and high school the student is assigned to based on their home address. And this allows us to track enrollment trends and transfer trends, as well as more specialized analysis, such as the placement of special programs based on the individual needs of those students. So by aggregating the student data by school, we also can have a better understanding of different trends throughout our district. This map shows the percentage of students who identify as Hispanic for each of our elementary school boundaries. And you can start to see some interesting trends with this type of analysis. So to begin our CAD to GIS process, our CAD team actually maintains drawings for over 158 different district facilities at individual campuses throughout the district. We have 16 million square feet of indoor space, including permanent buildings, portables, and modular spaces. There are 1,787 individual buildings within the district with 253 unique floor levels. As you can see, it's a very large scale conversion project, and we were a bit baffled to think about where to start. To find out where we should start, we enlisted the help of the Esri indoor team, and we were able to contract with the Esri professional development to get some in-person training and utilize their expertise electronically as we've worked through troubleshooting our project. So to make the project a little bit more manageable, we decided to start with a pilot project. We identified 6 schools, 2 elementary, 2 middle, and 2 high schools. And these pilot locations represent a variety of unique facility characteristics. The schools range in size, age, and have different numbers of buildings and floors. So we quickly learned that the major theme of CAD to GIS conversion is standardize, standardize, standardize. We were very lucky to start with a relatively complete, updated, and clean CAD data. We quickly learned that ensuring the compatibility of our CAD data with GIS was going to be the biggest challenge for this project. So our CAD data went through several phases of standardization, including ensuring naming conventions and standardizing room numbers. We had to add various attribute data for each room to ensure that the data was contained within each room block. We double checked the square footage and created building outlines. We also separated larger CAD drawings for each campus into individual drawings for each building and floor. So the next step was to create a configuration file. And this is part of the floor plans to indoors tool. When we actually started, this tool had just been allowable to use. And then now it is a part of the indoor license for Esri. So it's actually a part of the suite, but it is the major tool for that conversion process. So the configuration file points the information in the CAD layers to the corresponding output GIS feature classes. And we mapped these relationships in a spreadsheet to identify which CAD data translates to the GIS attributes available in the indoors tool. Our next step was georeferencing our CAD data. Oh, here's a diagram of that CAD attribute mapping to those GIS fields. For georeferencing, we took a somewhat unique approach because preserving the area of our drawings was very important to our analysis versus positional accuracy. We used aerial imagery to digitize a line feature in GIS, creating a 200-foot line on an exterior wall, starting at a corner of the building. And then we created the same 200-foot line in our CAD data at the same location. We use the endpoints of these lines for control points in our georeferencing tool. Finally, we were able to run the floor plans to indoors tool. Since our pilot project, schools had various numbers of drawings depending on the number of buildings and floors at each campus. It took anywhere from 1.5 hours to 18 hours to complete this conversion step. So we developed a quality control process to identify errors or missing data in our GIS outputs. We checked our output attribute tables by comparing them to our CAD outputs. We checked room IDs, square footage, room names, floor numbers, room types, use types, and construction phases. We used a spreadsheet to track any inconsistencies, and our CAD team would update drawings, and then we would rerun the tool again. Some schools required much more troubleshooting than others and took several iterations to pass our quality control process. We had a really interesting problem with handrails, and we had some 5-mile long end caps of handrails. So that was an interesting one to figure out. So we also checked using Symbology based on room type and floor sliders to visualize the data in ArcPro. And then we tied the data back to our other school data to show attributes as a broad number and learning zone. So to understand how rooms are utilized, we're adding relationship classes to match the rooms to the district master schedule based on their room ID. Here's that Symbology workflow. And it was really easy to pick out rooms that hadn't come over quite right. They had, they didn't match up with our Symbology template. And it was a nice visual check. So this is sort of a table of our workflow process. First, we georeference, CAD prep, create that configuration file, run that conversion tool, quality control, and that is repeated as many times as are needed. And then we create our deliverables. So we estimated some run times for the remainder of our project based on our workflow from the pilot schools, and allowing for 2 reruns of the tool after CAD corrections. We estimate about 10,000 hours of work, or 1,200 full-time work days, to convert the rest of our CAD data into GIS. So our deliverables include spreadsheet outputs for enrollment and utilization analysis, special needs and resource distribution. We're currently working on deploying ArcGIS Enterprise to start the indoor tool. So we're also looking forward to the possibilities of analysis and project workflows within that environment as well. We're looking to have an operational geodatabase with all of our facilities, and future possibilities seem endless. We're looking forward to creating web maps for our students and faculty and utilizing our CAD data within our Capital Master Plan division for the district. Here is a link where you can find this story map, as well as my contact information. The second link here is a Esri story. And they talk about some more details about our project as well, and a link to our APS Capital Master Plan. And I will keep it short and sweet for you. That's all I have for you today.
Thanks, Tam. That was really interesting. So you said you had 10,000 hours remaining?
Yeah. And that's really just for that conversion process. There's other time that will be consumed in really utilizing those outputs once we have them.
Hopefully you have a small crew of people that can help you out.
Yeah, we're lucky to have 3 full-time GIS personnel and 1 full-time CAD person who has 3 part-time helpers with their team. There's a lot of back and forth, especially in that CAD correction phase. So we see something that doesn't quite match, and then they go back in and the CAD drawing and are able to fix that, and then we reconvert. That's good. We're right next door to each other, so it's a good conversation in the office.
Oh, that's good. Let's see. Zach Edwards has a question. Zach, do you want to unmute and ask it, or would you like me to read it? I'll go ahead and read it. Zach asks, have you considered using handheld mobile scanning to capture floor plans quickly?
We haven't. We actually recently started a UAS program in our division, but we haven't really thought of going into the indoor realm yet. But the floor plans that we do have are fairly complete. A lot of our schools are newer or have had some sort of updates in the last 20-ish years that have been able to have fairly complete CAD drawings provided to us by the construction or engineering team that did them.
I think I missed, you said you georeferenced the CAD drawings of the buildings.
Yeah.
How did you go about that? Because I deal with CAD data sometimes, and sometimes it's difficult.
Right. So we had done some georeferencing by picking just points on the corner of the buildings, but we had some scaling issues when we brought it over. So just from the difference of the drawing versus the scale of the imagery. So we decided to go with 200-foot lines in each set. So we created a feature class of 200-foot endpoints on the side of the building in GIS, which was really easy to pick out and draw in CAD as well. And so we use the endpoints of those two lines in each software to do that conversion.
Okay. Cool, thank you.
Which did a really good job of preserving our areas, but not necessarily making everything line up spatially perfectly.
Hey, Tammira, this is Sue. Great presentation.
Thanks, Sue.
I have a quick question for you. So when you say there's like the time to do the conversion, is that limited by the hardware also, or just like software-wise? Like like in other words, if you use a better computing capacity, do you think that can increase the price? Sorry, reduce the time?
Yeah, we're pretty lucky to have some pretty high capacity machines here in both divisions. So the processing time is definitely a factor in the conversion tool. And I'm hoping that once we deploy ArcGIS Enterprise and get that actual indoors extension, that's going to speed up a bit. But the majority of the time spent is actually in that back and forth between the CAD and the GIS divisions, figuring out where the errors are coming in and where we need to standardize our CAD drawing.
Oh, okay, thanks. Yep.
Yeah, thanks.
Patty asks, how has your office been affected by COVID-19? And have you had to transition to new kinds of mapping products or deliverables for APS?
We haven't transitioned to new mapping products. We worked from home for about 3 months. And when the governor lifted the restrictions at first, we came back to a part-time system. So our teams are in the office for about 20 hours a week and at home for 20 hours a week. So we're lucky to be able to be in the office and use our usual software for a part of the time. And that seems to be working out well. I missed having my 2 screens at home. The laptop was not the same.
Yeah, once you go to 2 screens, it's hard to go back.
Yeah. We did a lot of making local copies on our laptops at home to be able to work with this. This project actually did get pushed back a bit because we were at home, because we are trying to deploy that enterprise system, and we can only do that from the office. So hopefully now we'll be picking up again now that I'm here and can talk to my servers again.
For sure. So when I was in high school a while back, I remember like being a freshman and I went to a big high school, and it's like it's hard to find out where the buildings are, you know, when you first start. Are you guys planning on giving students an option to have like a?
Yeah. We actually had planned in March to host the National Speech and Debate team competition here at APS. And we were planning on utilizing some basic maps. Luckily, they were kind of stationed at the schools that we had already done the pilot project work for, to provide them with a smartphone app that they could use to do some wayfinding. That event was canceled, sadly, so we have yet to figure out how that actually works, but that's definitely something we plan on providing for our campuses and students.
That's awesome. Someone asked here, are you using scanners to map the floor plans? I guess we already covered that.
It actually did take our CAD team quite a bit of time to scan some of the original CAD drawings into GIS, but into AutoCAD. But once I started here a few years ago, everything was already housed within CAD.
Cool. Okay, well, if there's any other questions, speak up now. Otherwise, this was really cool. Tammira, thank you.
Thank you. We might have to schedule a follow-up talk once we have it fully implemented. And we'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, that would be great. Maybe it can be in person even.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, everyone.